Good evening. A landmark order by the Supreme Court today in the fight against air pollution, which reaches dangerous levels every winter, especially during the festive season. The court reversed its own order earlier, ordering a ban on the sale of Diwali crackers till the end of the month, referring to the fact that the city literally chokes as air quality deteriorates and how there's now a consensus in society against the use of crackers. This order came on a petition filed by the parents of 3 young children. They are the ones most impacted year after year by Delhi's killer air. Many, those who can afford it, leave the city at this time. And while reactions have poured in for and against, let's just look at what matters most: the health of the people, the children of Delhi and surrounding areas. So for the first time, Delhi's top doctors, 8 of them, have come together tonight in our studio for a common cause, a citizens' campaign, My Right to Breathe. Joining me tonight will be Dr. Ranbir Guleria of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, also Dr. Arvind Kumar, head of the Lung Foundation, Dr. Naresh Trehan of Medanta, Dr. Harsh Mahajan of Mahajan Imaging, Dr. Naveen Dang, also Dr. Sibal from Apollo Hospital, Dr. Alok Chopra and Dr. Ashwini Chopra of Ashlok Fortis Hospital. Let's just look at that Supreme Court order tonight.
A rush at the Jama Masjid wholesale market for firecrackers, just as the Supreme Court ordered a temporary ban that will, crucially, cover Diwali. Ordering the ban till the 1st of November so as to test the effect of the ban on air pollution, the court said, there is virtually a consensus in the society that crackers should not be burnt during Diwali, that adverse effects have been witnessed year after year. Air quality deteriorates abysmally and alarmingly, and the city chokes. It leads to closing of schools.
It's not a 100% victory, but yes, it's a start. The court has made it clear all licenses stand banned forthwith, right now, immediately.
Already पिछले साल का स्टॉक है सारा, जो हमें बेचने के लिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला था अभी 20 दिन पहले, लेकिन अब दोबारा बोल दिया, अब ये स्टॉक फिर अगले साल पे जाएगा. हमारा बहुत लॉस है और हमसे जुड़े कम से कम 20-25 परिवारों का तो बिल्कुल ही उन पे तो खाने के भी पैसे नहीं होंगे.
But the big question is how will it be implemented, as there is no ban on lighting crackers. The fear is that firecrackers could be sold in black market, especially there is huge demand and around 50 lakh kgs of firecrackers in the capital NCR region.
बच्चे को कौन सुप्रीम कोर्ट समझाएगा? बच्चे को तो कोई सुप्रीम कोर्ट समझा ही नहीं सकता कि बच्चा तो अपनी जिद करेगा. हमने समझाया नहीं, रोने लग गए, क्या करें अब? सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो इतनी कारें वगैरह निकालती है, इन पे ही बैन लगाए ना, ये सबसे ज़्यादा प्रदूषण ये करते हैं.
Last year after Diwali and on the back of farm fires north of the capital, pollution hit record highs. With Arunachalam Vaidyanathan and Snigdha Basu in Delhi, Rohit Wellington for NDTV.
Different reactions there, but as I said, the bottom line is air pollution now a public health emergency? Don't listen to me, listen to the people who actually know about this. And as I said, for the first time, 8 of Delhi's top doctors have come together for a common cause. They're all with us in the studio tonight. Thank you all very much for taking time out from your busy schedules to do this. And let me begin, Dr. Guleria, by asking you, as the head of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, who sees millions of cases across the country, many criticize this fight against air pollution by saying it's an elitist obsession. Why are you focusing on crackers? Is this something India should care about, the citizens of Delhi should care about, or is it just becoming a issue of hype?
No, it's something which, like you said, is a medical emergency, and it's not anything to do with one class or the other. It's not anything to do with Delhi itself. If you look at the entire Gangetic belt, whether it be Delhi, Kanpur, Varanasi, Agra, all of them have toxic levels of air, and this becomes very bad during the winter months, especially pre and post Diwali. So it is definitely a medical emergency for which all of us should set up, irrespective of whether we are in the higher socioeconomic status or the lower socioeconomic status.
Dr. Kumar, I'd like to bring you in here as, of course, head of the Lung Foundation, because you made a video which is going viral this year, which actually shows that public health impact in your lungs. I'd like to actually play that video if we can now, and tell us about the difference it makes to a person's lungs, children, of course, and even a grown adult, just in this time around Diwali.
Yeah, so as a chest surgeon, I have been looking at lungs for last 25 years, and I have noticed a sea change in the color of lungs in the last 25 years. 25 years back, I would mostly see pink lungs in non-smokers, and smokers you would probably see blackish kind of lungs. But I am very sorry to tell that these days, even in teenagers who are non-smokers, I am seeing lungs which are having blackish areas. And that is what prompted me to start this foundation, that it is an information that I am privy to, because you cannot peep inside your chest to look at the color of your lungs. I am doing that, and I must share that information with the people at large. And that is the reason I put out those two pictures and sent it out, that this is what pollution is doing to your lungs, and Diwali of course marks the peak of that pollution.
We can see those pictures. They really are horrific pictures of the difference between a healthy lung and a smoker's lung, just smoking Delhi's air. Children's lungs also you've seen as bad as that,
yes,
Dr. Kumar?
Yes.
Let me bring in Dr. Trehan, because crackers is one aspect of it, and there have been so many divided reactions about people saying, why are you targeting Diwali? This is a festival which the whole of India celebrates. It's a, why are you targeting crackers, as if that's going to make a difference. What would you say on why this is important and what more needs to be done?
See, there are two aspects to it. One is our culture, which of course people are reacting accordingly, that how come you are banning them. The other part is the reality of the fact that we are in like a gas chamber, and it becomes even, it peaks to a level which is actually anti-human. Now you have three people who are vulnerable. One are people who have already pre-existing lung disease like asthma and stuff like that. For them it is like poison pill right now. Okay. And they suffer hugely, and they have been suffering year after year, and we see it in our hospitals. I am sure all my colleagues see that. The second part is the citizens who are actually out there, who are breathing this bad air anyway, and then you give them another healthy dose of toxins, and especially sulfur is peaks in that period, because sulfur is used in these firecrackers, which is toxic. So you are talking about that being detrimental, like Dr. Arvind Kumar said, and I see it also as a cardiac surgeon. In fact, I published 12 years ago some photographs of what Delhi lungs look like and what Himachal lungs look like, and there's a real contrast similar to what he showed. But the third most vulnerable are the children. Now children must understand, and this is like emotional, that it's banned, that we are not. Children are the most vulnerable, not only for their lungs, but for their neurological system, because these toxins actually go and affect the development of the brain in developing children.
Yes.
So for children's sake, and I think that's one of the good things that happened, that the petition was filed in the Supreme Court in the name of the three children, and that actually brings to fore the real victims of this whole thing, because they have their whole life ahead of them.
Of course.
So we may have suffered, but we have suffered in the last few years of our life. Those poor kids are just growing up.
Like this.
So it's very important. I don't think there should be any emotion attached to it. It's a reality. We must protect everybody, and I don't think there is any leeway in that. Symbolically, what you want to do, light a light, or
there's so many other ways to celebrate Diwali.
That is fine.
In fact, I want to bring in Dr. Mahajan on that again. Dr. Mahajan, as a radiologist, when we talk about this divide, we know that health and public health is not an issue which is based on religion or community in any sense, and the response to it has been united in so many ways. But do we focus it too much on just crackers? Why aren't we looking at other issues on accountability, from the terms of public transport? Where are the buses we were promised? Where is the less dust on roads that we were also promised? Why isn't this really on a political agenda as key priority? Why do we need a Supreme Court and doctors to come together in this unprecedented way?
I think we all are aware that of the problem that's there throughout the year. It's just that Diwali, or a festival where you're burning crackers, acts as a catalyst to really bring to fore the point that things are going beyond a certain limit. That's the only reason. One has to focus on everything. And by this focus of Diwali, and as Dr. Trehan said, children are maximum affected. If we are able to bring this message home to them, they can actually influence the families. And that's why every Diwali there's, some focus on this one aspect. Of course, one cannot lose sight of the facts that those public transport, the buses and all that haven't been provided. Still, we don't have the outer ring roads around Delhi which would not bring traffic inside. Recently, there was an item in the paper saying that, hundreds and thousands of trucks are coming in which should not be coming into Delhi. So all those have to be focused. This is just an attempt to actually highlight the fact that during Diwali it becomes horrendous.
Do you think, Dr. Dang, again coming back, focusing on the health aspect, do you think that people don't recognize how damaging this can actually be? That in that sense, we were talking also, as Dr. Guleria was saying, that, you know, acha, crackers one day doesn't make a difference, chalo, we're taking the card, doesn't make a difference. Do people actually realize how damaging this is for their health?
Sonia, I'll start by saying one thing. I wish, I hope a day comes when health becomes an election issue. Till the time health becomes an election issue, this topic will never get the priority which it deserves. Sonia, there are so many issues, and smoke, crackers, pollution is one of them. The right to breathe is one of the most important aspects of our fundamental rights. And it's not only lungs, like Dr. Trehan said, they're all parts of the body which get affected. Unfortunately, you know, कभी आप हिंदी की टेक्स्ट बुक पढ़िए तो उसमें लिखा होगा कि दिवाली पटाखों का त्यौहार है. What a shame. दिवाली सिर्फ पटाखों का त्यौहार नहीं है. दिवाली तो खुशियों का त्यौहार है. Why all aspects in government schools, in books, in schools, colleges, the first essay which you write is how did we celebrate Diwali? And they will write, we celebrate Diwali by bursting crackers. What a shame. Can't we celebrate Diwali in any other way? Is that the only way that we can think of? That sentence should be removed. Now coming to larger aspects, there are days when the number of children, number of people suffering of respiratory problems rises phenomenally. If I get X number of tests pre-Diwali for respiratory problems, it becomes 10x to 20x post-Diwali. Is that not an evidence itself? The statistics are there. I represent the private sector. Dr. Guleria is heading Medical Institute. Dr. Trehan is there, Dr. Mahajan is there, Dr. Sibal is there. We have all people out here who can vouch without any doubt that there is a season of diseases. Until the time government makes an agenda, till the time the election parties, the political parties say that one of the main agendas is health, this problem cannot be solved. We can ban the sale of crackers, but still people will somehow or other manage to get them. We have to also ban the usage of crackers. This is again a very important aspect. Anybody found to be bursting crackers should also be taken to task. So in the larger interest of the nation, in the larger interest of children, in the larger interest of future society, I humbly pray, beg, request that something should be done, that this pollution is decreased or massive efforts are made to eliminate it.
I think really it is a matter of national interest to put in. Dr. Sibal, you're a pediatrician, so when really what everybody has touched on how children will be impacted, but tell us how a child is impacted. A child who may have asthma or a child who may be perfectly all right, otherwise health-wise, not just Diwali, but all the winter months in Delhi and surrounding areas.
Sonia, it's really sad that we even have to come together to talk about my right to breathe. I mean, it's just so basic, and the fact that so much effort is being made is really, really sad. I mean, this time of year is dreadful. If you look at last year, you know, the particulate matter went up to 999. That is absolutely frightening. Now, we really don't know what the long-term impact of this is going to be. We know the short-term.
When it goes up that much, if you could just explain to our viewers, what does it mean for health?
So basically, you know, when it comes to children, if we look at their airways are smaller relative to their size. So what happens is that when there is irritation and secretions get produced in the airways, because of the small caliber, they actually have problems with breathing, and so they start to wheeze. So if you actually have asthma, you have a form of reactive airway disease, or you have respiratory allergy, or you have nasal allergy, you get very pronounced symptoms and you actually go gasping for breath. I mean, just today 3 families asked me, Doc, should we leave Delhi? That is so sad that people actually have to think about not being with their family members, not having celebrations, but actually going away to some place where the pollution levels are much lower. What really worries us is that nobody's really studied what this high level of pollution does to the lungs of little children, babies. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what is going to be the long-term impact? Because nobody's kind of been exposed to this kind of unhealthy environment, and it's really scary. And I think all of us need to come together. We have to have children, we have to have parents, and we must realize that the health of children is not in their hands. It's in the hands of parents and grandparents. We can guide them, but we have to take responsibility for what we are going to be doing to the future generation.
Dr. Alok Chopra, why don't you come in on that aspect?
Well, I was actually, stepping back from the little hurly-burly of whatever this movement has done, and this movement has done something very big. I want to talk about the fact that this is a concept of what we call Kriya Shakti, which is the formative directional power of our consciousness, or versus the Ichha Shakti, which is a formative power of thought. And if we have to do this, this whole thing starts from an individual, and a transformed individual can become the nucleus of a change. And this has to be a holo movement. It's not just a holographic effect. It has to be a holo movement, like the way I see it happening. In fact, today in the newspaper was a nice piece read by one of our environmental journalists, I think, forget his name anyway. So he was saying that the whole thing, if we have to have the revival of our planet, has to be a revival of our education. And and it has to be taken up in an eco-spiritual manner, so that we can present ourselves as human and not just consumers.
No, and I think the good thing is that children really have needed this movement. And Dr. Chopra, if you could come in as well on that, on this mass awareness, because it's not just about leaving it to schools, but the fact that the media needs to showcase this. We need to bring it on the political agenda. We need to reflect citizens' voices. It's a campaign run by citizens, by concerned parents, to actually bring it to the mainstream agenda of our country. Do you think that can happen?
Yeah, but I think that actually we must actually do this awareness at a completely different level. We must understand that our minds and our bodies work as an integrated whole, and we participate with the environment. We have an individual body and we have an extended body. The extended body is our environment. Actually, environment is not a nice word. We should call it biosphere, and we are actually activities in this biosphere. I mean, why do we call it environment? The air is our breath, the trees are our lungs, the rivers are our blood, the earth recycles as our blood.
And they focus so much on holistic healing now.
No, why I'm saying this, because unless we understand this as a human race, we will not pollute the environment if we know that we and the environment are one dynamic activity.
Interlinked. I want to come back to Dr. Glera. Dr. Glera, you want to give me your perspective again as the director of the All India Institute. You wanted to come in on the various aspects raised. Please go ahead.
So a few things I wanted to say. One was, like Dr. Sibyl said, that post Diwali last year, the values were 999. Actually, they were 999 because the meter could not measure before more than that.
Exactly.
The values were actually 1700 and 1800. So what it really tells us is that what we were breathing post Diwali was actually toxic air. And as he rightly mentioned, there is really not much data as to what will happen long-term effects. So we all talk about the short-term effects that will happen in terms of worsening of asthma, worsening of patients with COPD, more heart attacks. But there is a lot of data even emerging from the West that when children are exposed to continuous high levels of pollution for years at end, it has a significant effect neurologically, but even on atherosclerosis. It leads to higher chances of coronary artery disease, strokes. And therefore, the current children who are growing up in Delhi, who have spent all these years in this polluted environment, are actually going to pay a price 15, 20, 30 years from now when they become adults and productive as far as society is concerned.
And that's really all of our children in a sense. And it's actually shocking, Dr. Kumar, you come in where you hear that expats now ask for a hardship allowance when they come to Delhi because of the levels of air pollution. We've seen again the focus that will come up that what about the livelihoods of those who make firecrackers? What about the livelihoods of those who make tobacco? These are issues which always come up. There's an economic cost. When, say, diesel cars are banned, when the NGT comes in, there's always an economic cost which then political parties will try to resist. The public health cost is never actually measured. What would you say about that?
Yeah, so when you talk of the economic cost, say the workers who are working in the cracker industry, that's okay. But if you look at the impact on the people, you can look at it in two ways. One, it affects the health. So there is a certain amount of morbidity. Some of them die also of these diseases, and the amount of money they spend on treatment. I'm sure if you collate the amount of money which is being spent by people on treatment, and when you collate the amount of money, it's not just the amount actually spent on treatment, but also the damages or the losses caused to the offices when they are away from office because of being sick. So if you take all that together, it will be a huge amount which will be far more than the amount which will be going to the cracker makers. I heard that a lot of people are now saying on the TV that there are people whose livelihood depends on that. My answer to that is yes, your livelihood depends on that, but you have other ways of earning your livelihood. But people whose health is getting affected by it, who are losing their life, who are losing their lung function, who are developing all kind of neurological problems, there is no alternative for that. So wherever there is an alternative, let's look for an alternative. They can find another job But a person whose lung is damaged, he cannot find another lung.
Of course, and that really is crucial. And Dr. Thrin, again, when we look, it's actually the poorest of the poor who are impacted by this. They are the ones who are often pushed below the poverty line because of high medical costs. They are the ones who are working at construction sites, breathing the dust. It's the street children who are never really factored in, who are breathing that polluting air every day. That's an aspect, do you think, needs to be showcased as well?
See, that's why the argument about it's elitist doesn't hold, because we all breathe the same air. The basic thing is that if you calculate the man hours lost to illness in India, it exceeds over $300 billion a year. So you're talking about that you not only become a burden on yourself and your community and your immediate family, but also a national burden. So are we saying we cannot reskill these people who are in a trade which has become hazardous, not only to them but to the society? This will happen in many trades. So we just need to give them alternative skills to be able to get a proper job. It is absolutely possible. The whole world has done it. It's not like we are the only ones facing this kind of thing. We need to really bring it to focus, because like you said, it's not only crackers, it's like crop burning, it's this. So are we that incapable of managing our life or our country? We should be able to. There are solutions, and we should look for those alternatives and actually make it happen that our people are not exposed to hazards which they should not be at any cost.
And final thoughts tonight, really, as we began by saying this is a public health emergency. So, Dr. Mahajan, all from around this table, you all came together to get this message across. What would you all like to say tonight, each of you, what would you like to say tonight on this issue of it being a public health emergency? We can't afford to keep putting this off year after year.
See, the thing is, we are always willing to blame the others for the pollution. During this season, we say crop burning is leading to pollution. But here's an opportunity we have to actually reduce pollution. Why should we not take it? So I would just implore everyone, don't take it as a religious affront or rich versus poor. In fact, the poor get affected much, much more. We still have air purifiers in our homes and in our offices. Where do the poor have them? So they are affected much more, and they can't afford the treatment. They really suffer grievously from it. So I would just implore, let's for once get together and say no to crackers.
Of course, and we'll play the pictures of all the cricketers who got together. Dr. Dang, final thoughts from you tonight as making this a people's movement. We said a citizens movement. After all, cricketers, when they play in Delhi, again, the embarrassment of our people who come from outside cricket teams saying we can't play in this pollution. Your final thoughts tonight, Dr. Dang.
There's nothing personal, there's nothing religious. Every drop makes a difference in the ocean. All of us have to contribute. All of us have to be together and work towards the fact to eliminate pollution as much as we can. We don't have to wait for government orders. We don't have to wait for court orders. All of us have joined hands and create this awareness that no pollution, no crackers, and try and see that whatever can be done to decrease pollution so that our future generations are safe.
Also, in fact, I find it so funny when people say religious, because all of us around this table, I think, are proud Indians who all love Diwali,
exactly.
But it just, so I really find it the religious argument funny. Dr. Sibyl, go ahead.
Sonia, if we look at our grandparents, they lived much healthier lives, because one, their stress levels were lower, the food they ate was better, and the air that they were breathing in was definitely healthier. And I think we owe it to our children and the generations that we need to protect. Let this be one catalyst. This should not be something that ends after Diwali is over. There are so many other issues we need to address when it comes to air pollution, and I think everyone can make a difference. Everyone counts. There are going to be gifts that are going to be exchanged. People are going to have 2 gifts in a car, and that car is going to actually, you know, the traffic, what happens around Diwali. So let's plan a little bit better. Let's look at how is it. Use carpools. Think of ways.
Push for more public transport.
And you know, I mean, this is October. Let's remember what Mahatma Gandhi has said. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Everyone can make a difference. It's not about we need directions. I think each one needs to introspect and make a difference.
Exactly, and I think really the fact that 8 of you, and I said I know how busy doctors are, so to get 8 of you here for half an hour of your undivided time is amazing. Dr. Kumar, you want to say?
Yeah, I actually want to issue an appeal through this platform to all my countrymen. Pollution is not a religious, political, etc. It's a medical issue. It's a national emergency. The health consequences are going to be so disastrous that the time to act is now. And trust me, if we don't act today, it may be too late.
Dr. Kumar, on those words, we have to end tonight. Thank you all very much. And as I said, 8 of Delhi's top doctors coming together to raise your voices. India will be listening. Thank you for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you.